안녕하세요. 신의한수 시청자 여러분, 이용남입니다. 제가 오늘은 Cpac이 열리는 본 행사장에 도착을 했는데요. 지금 현장에 와보니까 열기가 굉장히 뜨겁습니다. 미국뿐만 아니라 전 세계에서 많은 그 보수주의자들이 모였고요. 또 요즘 대세가 유튜브지 않습니까? 그래서 미국 내의 유튜브는 물론이고 전 세계의 유튜브들과 또 그리고 일반 언론들도 많이 왔습니다. 그래서 제가 본 행사가 시작되기 전에 이 행사장 곳곳을 다녀보면서 생생한 목소리를 여러분께 전해드리겠습니다. 자, 그럼 저와 함께 지금 가보실까요? Where are you from?
I am from New Jersey,
So
United States.
What's your name?
My name is Marjorie Sharp,
Okay, nice.
and I am a Republican. I belong to the Republican women in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I'm here at Cpac because it's very important to support President Trump, very important for the
Yeah.
values that he stands
Yeah.
for. He stands for our Constitution, he stands for our flag. He's done a lot of good for America.
So do you attend the Cpac every year?
No, this is my first time.
Oh, really?
I'm very, very excited, and the president is coming on Saturday, and we are thrilled to see him. I did attend one of his rallies in Pennsylvania about a year and a half ago, and it was the most awesome thing ever.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Wonderful.
So as a American, usually are you interested in the Korean issue like Korea-American alliance things? Or
Yes, we
relationships
follow
things?
the news very much with North Korea and South Korea, and we're proud of what the president has done to try to make peace between the Koreas and between us and North Korea. Yes, he's worked hard on that, and relations with China and his trade deals. He's done so many good things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very
much for
much.
your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate meeting you.
Okay. 우리 트루스 포럼의 조평세 박사님을 반갑게도 Cpac에서 만났습니다. 박사님 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
네,
안녕하세요.
그동안 어떻게 지내셨어요?
예, 뭐 지금 잘 있습니다. 미국에 온 지 한 2년 좀 안 됐는데
네.
지금 잘 있고요.
네.
아내도 공부 열심히 하고 있고
네.
아들도 잘 크고 있습니다.
네, 반갑습니다. 그리고 뭐 이번에 Cpac에 참가하신 걸로 알고 있는데 뭐 Cpac 행사는 이번이 처음이신가요? 아니면은 계속 참가를 하신 건가요?
아니요, 작년에도 왔었어요.
네.
작년에 Cpac 처음 참석했고
네.
작년에 너무 제가 사실은 감명도 받고 한국한테 알려주고 싶은 운동이어서 이 작년 Cpac 참석한 것에 대해서 후기도 쓰고
네.
그리고 Cpac을 한국에 가져오려는 그 같이 참여도 하고 그래서 5월달 하고 10월이었죠?
네.
그때 한국의 Cpac에도 10월달에는 못 왔지만은 같이 이렇게 지켜보고 있습니다.
네. 그리고 사실 한국인들에게는 뭐 Cpac이라고 생겼지만 한국의 일반 독자들은 Cpac이 정확하게 어떤 행사인지 잘 모를 것 같아요. 아무래도 우리 박사님이 작년에도 참가를 하셨고 그래서 한국의 독자들께 시청자들께 간단하게 이 Cpac이 특히 우리나라와는 어떠한 우리나라의 의미를 짓는지 뭐 간단하게 말씀해 주시죠.
일단 Cpac은 1974년에 레이건 대통령이 기조연설 하면서
네.
시작을 했어요.
그렇죠.
그리고 그 이후로 그때까지는 사실은 큰 세력이 아니었는데 지금은 정치적으로는 가장 큰 보수 세력입니다. 세계에서
네.
가장 큰 세력입니다. 그리고 미국에서 말하는 보수주의.
네.
사실 우리가 따라가야 할 그 보수주의를 가장 잘 세력화한 그런 단체입니다.
네.
그래서 이 Cpac이 사실은 지금 작년부터 우리나라뿐만 아니라 뭐 호주, 캐나다 이런 데 막 키우고 있습니다. 그래서 약간 글로벌 컨서베티브 무브먼트로 키우고 있는데 그런 일환으로 우리 한국도 지금 참여를 하게 된 것이고요. 너무나 감사하게.
네.
그리고 사실 우리 대한민국 보수도 사실은 이념적으로 반공을 넘어서서 진정한 보수의 가치, 그러니까 자유부터 시작해서 또 자유만 있는 것이 아니라 어떤 우리는 인간의 한계를 인정하고 어떤 신의 존재를 인정하고 그런 신앙적인 면 그리고 가정, 생명 이런 이슈들을 확실하게 가치관을 확립을 해야 될 때가 온 것 같아요.
네.
탄핵을 계기로 그런 기회가 또 왔고
네.
그래서 이 기회를 잘 포착해서 우리가 키워나가야 되는데 한국의 자체적인 그런 움직임들도 많이 있지만은 사실은 이 원조 보수주의인 미국의 사례들을 배울 게 너무나 많습니다. 그래서 Cpac 운동도 마찬가지고 Cpac뿐만 아니라 뭐 출판계, 뭐 언론계 다 사실 우리가 지금 겪어야 될 그런 과정들을 겪었거든요. 그것들을 우리가 벤치마킹 해야 될 게 많아서 사실 저도 배우는 마음에서 계속해서 저희 참석하고 있고 또 가능한 대로 제가 글이나 이렇게 이야기로 한국 트루스 포럼 같은데 알리고 있습니다.
네, 그리고 제가 그 프로그램을 보니까 박사님도 이번에 스피치를 하는 걸로 알고 있는데 정확하게 언제 무슨 주제로 스피치를 하게 될지 간단하게 또 말씀.
저는 사실은 땜빵입니다. 원래 참석 스피치 발표해 주시기로 했던 분이 이제 못 오시는 바람에 제가 내일, 그러니까 목요일이죠. 목요일 오후 3시에 한국이 무너지면 세계에 어떤 영향을 미칠까?
네, 정말 중요한
그 주제에 대해서 저는 이제 북한학을 공부했으니까 북한의 위협, 북한이 한국에 미치는 위협과 중국이 한국에 미치는 위협에 대해서 이제 설명을 하는 게 있고요. 근데 패널이라서 발표가 아니라 질의응답입니다. 디스커션입니다. 그래서 한 5분 정도밖에 이제 시간이 없을 것 같고 모레 금요일 날에는 이제 Cpac이 아니라 Cpac이 따로 별도 세션을 만들었습니다. 그래서 그거는 아침 9시부터 오후 2시까지 꽤 긴 시간 이제 그 패널이 2개가 열리는데 그 중에 하나에 이제 저도 같은 주제로 이제 얘기를 하게 됩니다. 그때는 이제 미국 사람들도 많지만 한국에 진짜 관심 있는 한국 사람들하고 뭐 고든창이나 이런 분들이 오실 것 같아요. 그리고 이제 토요일에는 사실은 우리 애니첸 회장님께서 오셔서 이제 한국 Cpac을 소개하는 자리가 있는데 건강이 편찮으셔서 못 오시게 됐어요. 그래서 거기에서 이제 제가 대신 그 대독을 하고 또 이제 하기로 했습니다. 그게 이제 토요일 3시가 되겠습니다. 네.
박사님 인터뷰 감사드리고 박사님 강연, 그 토론 시간이죠. 목요일 날 저희가 별도의 또 신의한수가 박사님 세션 촬영을 해서 한국에 계시는 시청자분들께도 또 토론회를 잘 볼 수 있도록 그렇게 또 다시 찾아뵙겠습니다.
감사합니다.
오늘 인터뷰 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
네.
감사합니다.
제 뒤로 보이는 지금 이 무대가 오늘 Cpac 첫날의 첫 행사인데요. 한국에서도 얼굴이 많이 알려진 분인데 카트리나 피어슨이라는 굉장히 유명한 분입니다. 이분은 트럼프 대통령이 2016년 대선 당시에 대변인을 했던 사람인데요. 이분이 오늘 Cpac 첫날의 첫 세션에 환영사를 할 예정입니다. 그러면 잠시 후에 뵙겠습니다.
Back on the show, Matt Schlapp, they're very loud. Matt Schlapp, thank you very much.
Hillary Clinton is trying to make the case that Donald Trump is a misogynist, and he is pushing back on the fact that she's in no position to make those charges.
No, I'm asking you, not Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
I'm asking you.
This is the very type of elite Washington judgment that the voters in the Republican, that the voters across this country are sick and tired of. When you call them racist or xenophobic, let me finish. They love their country and they simply want to take it back.
Republicans don't want terrorists to get guns.
But they're making sure that they can.
No, that's untrue. The fact is they had a vote in the Senate today, and the Democrats didn't support
They're
this
putting it on the
common sense
Democrats.
measure.
Congressman Meeks, he's throwing it on the Democrats.
No, it's a fact.
I do think it's absurd for politicians who are protected by arms every day for them to say that it's okay for them to be protected, but that every individual doesn't have the right to do the same thing.
When the FBI is finding all types of problems with 2 investigations that are raging into her activities.
NBC News knows of one investigation and not a second
That is just not true. I'm sorry. You should read the Wall Street Journal. You should read the New York Times.
I have. I am
There are
only
2
telling you
investigations.
what
It is a fact. There are 2 investigations going on, and you should level with people about that.
It's not that I'm not leveling with people. I am telling you our reporting at
Your
NBC
reporting
News.
is not accurate.
Well, okay,
It's
you
not
can make that
accurate.
judgment.
Which way is momentum going right now in this campaign?
I think it's Hillary's.
You're
She's
right.
back on the campaign trail. Grassroots activists that are coming to Cpac. These are not people that feel like Donald Trump is beyond the pale. And Donald Trump happens to be speaking for these people. Everybody shows up in Cpac all the time. And why did they come, Joe? Because not everyone's from Iowa and New Hampshire. Some people from states that are never going to see a presidential candidate. Right. And if you're a conservative, you ought to be able to have your own version of a conservative primary. This is where you show up.
It's also a lot of fun.
Everyone's got to come to the family reunion.
I want to send the ultimate screw you message to Washington. He's the best guy to do that, and I'm sticking with him. I think my party would be foolish to turn them all out because we haven't won a battleground state in 12 years. I think this time we will win.
Wherever Matt is on TV, prepare for an epic slapdown.
She has been in scandal after scandal, which started when she was the first lady and fired the travel office, stole $20,000 worth of furniture.
Because
they are a scandal machine, and why aren't we focusing on them?
I don't want to be unfair to you if you don't know.
Please don't be.
Are there facts that back up the claim?
Did you cover politics in the 1990s? Like Hillary Clinton, who went from dead broke, and in a little over a decade is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. That's the story here, which is what was she selling? Why was she able to make so much money? Where are her transcripts? Why can't we see the transcripts?
When I do this means stop talking.
She was fired by CNN, and they said her activities.
You're going to keep saying it 3 times. You can say it 3 times, and I'm going to say
It's
3
the truth.
times.
It was the Obama administration and the
That
FBI
vote has come to
that
the
took
floor in the
that
Senate, and you guys weren't
person, that
going.
took that
Nothing else,
person
it's just
off the
TV.
terrorism watch list.
No, actually, he passed the background check and was able to get a gun in your party.
Because he wasn't, because the FBI bungled the investigation. Joy, you don't have to defend the Obama administration. That's not your job. It's to let me speak as well.
I don't think I got slapped in the face. I want to make that clear.
Good afternoon, Cpac. This is Cpac Direct Action Training 2020. Please welcome American Conservative Union Chairman Matt Schlapp and Donald J. Trump for President Inc., Katrina Pearson.
Can you hear me? Yes. How great is it to have Katrina Pearson here, huh? One of my all-time favorite people. There is, unfortunately, a long line getting in, as you know. Here's the problem when you have sold every ticket to Cpac. It means there's a lot of people. So we're sorry. We're sorry about the lines, but they are a function of the fact that the country is so fired up with it.
Well, I think this is a typical Trump problem to have. You know, everything is bigger with Trump. And in that you saw, we broke records in Iowa. Turned around in New Hampshire. I think it's a really exciting time, and you've got all this Trump support that's out there, and it's the activists who are making it happen.
So we have going to have over 1,500 people. And Katrina, this is really more your ballpark because you have this important job at the campaign and you're coordinating appropriately with the RNC. How many people are tuning into this session as we go through the day? How many cities are paying attention?
There's so much work going on right now. And so thank you to Cpac for letting us come and interact with the activists here. You're our people.
Right.
Sponsored this portion of the program. And I want to give a giant shout out to everyone who's on the live stream. There are thousands of people tuning in right now through the Trump Victory Initiative. If you want to sign up today is the National Week of Training, and this is by far the largest gathering of conservatives for activism in the history of conservatism. So give yourself a hand. I want to say one other thing. 2016 was rough, right? I mean, the left still can't get over it. And now, we've seen in these hideous debates, the only thing the Democrats want to do is beat Donald Trump. They don't care about the policies, they don't care about the people, they don't care about our country. They just want to beat Donald Trump. Sounds to me like they want to fight. Let's give them a fight. Because if there's one thing that Donald J. Trump, the candidate, has taught the Republican Party is how to fight. And it should be quite obvious by now that if you're going to fight, you better fight to win. And by the way, are you tired of winning yet? So we're excited to be here with you today to kick off this activism across the country. There are thousands and millions even of people who are ready to get out there and fight with President Trump to keep America great. And so Matt, why don't we just talk about this situation? Let's talk about what's happening or not happening on the left, and let's talk about what we're going to do about it.
Yeah, so I have a very interesting life. I have the world's greatest job. I get to do this, right, Jock? This is the world's greatest job. But the other night I was in my house, and my wife was slaving away at her job with you. Yes, yes. How many of you have been proud of Mercy taking on that terrible Bernie Sanders on Cuba on TV? So I'm sitting in my man chair, Katrina, and I'm watching this debate. Not the one last night. I didn't really hear much last night except screeching voices over the top of each other. But the debate just before, I think I was in political ecstasy watching the Democratic Party demonstrate to the entire world how radicalized it's become. Like if you're a normal person that just has, you know, problems, you're raising kids, you're trying to pay your bills, you're trying to figure out what it is you want to do with your career, you're looking at your country and sometimes you scratch your head on some things that you hear on the TV or you read in the newspaper, if you still read a newspaper. If you have one, you can read. You wonder what's going on. There wasn't a single thing that they brought up in that debate that would help you solve any problem you have. What they're trying to do is indoctrinate you. They're trying to indoctrinate our kids. Hey, there's victims along the way. There are people that have Listen to this. What's the word? I got ashes on my head. I got to use a clean word. What does Joe Biden say? Malarkey, the true malarkey. Malarkey. And by the way, I do know what state I'm in. I'm in Maryland, and I know that I'm actually not running for president, unlike Joe Biden. But, and what I love about what's happening in the world today is that when you really think about how we're divided and everything else, Katrina, how we match up as a country, here's one thing we forget. Let's remember this. The number one group, in terms of numbers, not even in terms of truth, right? But in terms of numbers, are conservatives. We're the largest group. There are more conservatives than there are moderates, than there are liberals, than there are Democrats, than there are even Republicans. There are more conservatives. And now we've had this new phenomenon on top of the Republican phenomenon and the conservative phenomenon. We've brought in a whole bunch of people who are MAGA people, who are Trump supporters, who are welcome at Cpac. And you know what we're all going to do together? We actually have like common sense solutions to like getting a job, holding on to more, or increasing your take-home pay, or letting your kids choose any school they want, or having healthcare choices. Like, this is us. They have no answers to any problems.
No, I mean, it's common sense. It's putting America and Americans first. I'm not sure why that seems to confuse the left, but here we are. And you know what's really exciting about this day in our time is not only has everyone come together, not only has President Trump provided the leadership that we've had to really take our message front and center, but Donald Trump is fundamentally changing the Republican Party and growing the base. Look, I was there when they said there was racism and sexism and misogynism. Every ism you can think of, they put it on Donald Trump and his supporters. I'm on live television and they say, oh, Donald Trump doesn't like black people or women. And I'm looking into the camera like, hello? So, I mean, this insanity has just taken over the left. You know, they did not like the 2016 election results. So this entire time, they have been trying to undo the 2016 election. First, we had the Russia hoax. Remember the Russia collusion that they talked about for years?
We're going to spend a little time on that over the next couple of days, just so you know.
And it failed.
Yes, it did.
Miserably.
Yes.
So when that didn't work, right, and they said, oh, well, we can't, you know, undo the 2016 election, we know, we'll try another hoax. We'll go impeachment. You know, Russia was in search of a crime, and impeachment is now in search of a cause, and it failed miserably. And so, what happened? Donald Trump got stronger, more popular, and more people are now reaching out to the campaign to say, hey, why didn't we know about tax cuts? Why didn't we know about criminal justice reform? Why didn't we know school choice? Did you see the State of the Union speech? Anyone at home even knew that the Trump administration had been winning for America, fighting for Americans, and delivering to the forgotten communities of our country. And now, we get to go tell them. Because something else you may not know, our president, as a candidate, has now launched an unprecedented effort through coalitions. I was just talking to press today, because we have Women's Coalition, Latino Coalition, Workers Coalition, Black Voices for Trump Coalition. Every coalition you can think of, Donald Trump has them. And I said to the New York Times.
To who?
To the New York Times.
Okay. Where are you going with this?
They say, well, why? Why are you doing this? And the answer is very simple. You don't get votes that you don't go and ask for. And that's what's changing under Donald J. Trump. large this spectrum is. When it comes to black voters, I've been in Republican politics for over a decade. Every political event that I've gone to, there's maybe a handful of people who look like me. Black Voices for Trump launched last year. There were 400 black voters that showed up, and there were hundreds waiting outside to get in. And since then, all of the coalitions are operating all over the country doing community events, real grassroots efforts inside the community. And our Black Voices Coalition events are averaging 80 to 100 people at a time. And they say the same thing. What's really going on? So now we have this opportunity, through the activism, through the infrastructure, and through folks like yourselves, to bring home Donald J. Trump a win in 2020. The best part about that, Matt, is we get to see more liberal tears.
Yes, that's right.
We thought that it was tough back then when they were crying and screaming.
I call
right?
it heads exploding.
Heads will
Tears,
explode.
heads will explode.
If we do our job.
That's right.
We have to do our job. And that's why you're here this week. Because we do our job and we get voters out, we win. It is that simple. What else is on the agenda for us today?
Are you really asking?
Yes.
I don't know what's more important than that, but let me tell you a little perspective of why we asked you to come. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. You came a day early because you care about your country, because you know what's at stake. We're going to have a lot of fun over the course of the next few days, but it's serious business. No one ever thought that the Constitution would be under this kind of an attack. A very frontal, very public attack. Well, what my friend Brett Kavanaugh went through to just get picked to be on the Supreme Court. You know, Republicans and conservatives, we play nice. They pick somebody for the Supreme Court. You know what we do? We look at their resume, see if they went to law school, see if they're qualified. What do they do for us? They look through yearbooks. And they make you-know-what up. And they'll say anything for power. They will take out any words of the Constitution. They will change their meanings. And I hate to warn you, Bernie Sanders, they will change any rule they gotta change if they feel like they want to stop someone. When Donald Trump said it was rigged, I said, what does he mean? And then I got to see what he meant. It really is rigged with these guys. They will not stop at anything to make sure they hold on to political power. And I'm not saying I want us to play the same way. I want to play a better way. I want to win. I don't want to hang around with people in politics that don't want to win. Okay? If we don't win in 2020, if we don't win going forward, if we don't send Nancy Pelosi back to her tall wall mansion in San Francisco, if we don't send Adam Schiff back to Hollywood to write some more bad scripts. Who's the next one? Pencilneck. And finally, I never saw anything like it. You know this guy, Jerry Nadler? You see him? Do you know he actually out-hustled Adam Schiff to the microphone to get the final? How does that happen? What kind of self-respect do you get? You lose a foot race to Jerry Nadler. We have to send him home to wherever it is he comes from. But most importantly, and this is the truth is we're a bottom-up party. We're a bottom-up movement. You guys matter more than anyone. You matter more than anyone. But here's what we've got. For the first time that I can remember, we've also got a guy at the top who wants to fight as hard as you do. Just as hard. Dirt on his uniform, a little mud, some blood on his uniform. I don't know how he survived. you know, the last 3.5 years. I literally don't know how we survived. But there's something to that people will be writing about. But I often ask this question, Katrina, is he just transitional? Is he just for a period of time to make the madness end? And then maybe things go back to the way they are? Or are our politics, especially the way our conservative movement works, is it forever different because we've gotten the taste of something we didn't really understand? We can win. We actually can win. We can win.
The anointment. Donald Trump has been anointed. And if you can't see that by now, then you're not paying attention. No one could have gone through what our president has gone through from the time that he was running in 2015, the attacks on him, his family, his friends, his colleagues, anyone around him has been under attack. No one would have survived that type of media bias, negativity, physical assaults that we have seen on our supporters and come out stronger in the end without the anointing. So to answer your question about change, are we going back? I don't think it's possible to go back to the way it was. You know why? Because Donald Trump has raised the bar. Not only did he make promises, but he kept them. Yes. Yeah. And he has delivered time and time again on promises he didn't even make, but that have been better for our country and our families and our children and our future. And I don't think that these guys, Matt, all these people out here in the audience, all those people watching on the live stream, are going to settle for anything less.
I think that's right.
Now that we know what we have in President Trump.
Right. That's totally right. So the vision of Cpac was, of course, to come here and to learn, to listen to your heroes like Katrina and others that are going to be speaking throughout the next couple days. But we want to add something more to your experience, which is why Chris Turner, who's on the board of the American Conservative Union, and other people in our team have worked very hard to put a program for you today. We don't just want to talk at you. We want to work with you. We want you to learn the skills that we all need to improve upon to be better activists. The good news is that all of us who live in the zip codes around here, by the way, if you look at the window, that literally is the Beltway right there. The inside the Beltway crowd, that is the belt right there. They don't matter as much. And that's one of the most beautiful things that's happened in politics in the course of the last 4 years, is that you matter more. But remember, to whom much is given, much is expected. And if we don't do our job, we're going to lose our country. And I really mean that. I don't mean, it was one thing when Republicans lost to Democrats, would go back and forth. One party's a little center left. The other party is a little scared to fight, but it's to the right. And that's kind of how the country went for a very long period of time. When one of our major parties becomes so radicalized as to embrace the ism our young men and women went to war for, to stop it over there, to allow it to come here, is unacceptable. We know the history of our freedom fighters, and thank God, I don't mean to imply that we're in some kind of a violent war. We're in a war for ideas. But you know the freedom fighters, the brave men and women who created America. They created America with a really distinct idea that each one of you has the power because our Creator gave you that power. There is nothing democratic about socialism. Socialism takes the individual's dignity, God-given dignity, and takes it to the collective, to the community, and they decide for you, instead of you being able to be the ultimate decider on what you want your government to be. My friends, if we lose that battle, we've lost the country.
Yes.
And it's your job and it's our job to make sure that that never happens. And I believe, I'm so optimistic. We've come so close to a dangerous place. I am so optimistic that with your help, that we will make sure, as the president says, America will never be a socialist country. Katrina, do you want to leave them with a kind of a parting message?
Yes, absolutely. You know, we cannot depend on tech. They're silencing you on social media.
Yep.
They're changing the algorithms, and they're trying to shut down our message. So, if you want to stay directly involved with the campaign, you can take out your phones and text the word Trump to 88022. That way, you'll be directly connected to the campaign, and when we're coming to an area near you, or there's a message that needs to get out, you will get it directly from your president. And then you can take those messages into your communities. So I want to say thank you. I am honored to stand with you and with all of the activists here and online, because I believe that we were all born for this fight right here today.
Right. Can we all give Katrina a rousing appreciation for all the hard work she's doing over there at the campaign? Thank you all for being here. Take out your phones. Write a lot of notes to yourself. We all got a lot to learn. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your Crenshaw.
He is a former Navy SEAL who lost his eye while serving our country.
Dan Crenshaw served our country for 10 years, including multiple tours in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Lieutenant Commander Dan Crenshaw, everyone, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for making a Republican look good.
I'm from the SEAL teams. We have a very different sense of humor. Okay, it's pretty thick-skinned.
I thought it was maybe the most uplifting moment in American politics I've seen in a decade.
The military has long brought a lot of credibility to American institutions. I hope to bring some of that credibility to Congress. If you just know one thing, which is that you're supposed to take care of your people, then I think you've got it. You understand what leadership really is. You know, reaching young people is the most important thing we can do.
TPUSA is for Nazis, and you should be ashamed of your service in Afghanistan. You should be ashamed of yourself, not proud of your service.
If you have to call somebody a Nazi, it's a good indicator that you haven't thought through your argument very well. Get more creative with your insults, man. Like, Nazi, come on.
Dan Crenshaw is at our southern border. He was in Brownsville, Texas, to see firsthand the situation on the border.
I really know how to keep this country safe. I've got the right experience. Every country has the right to own its own sovereignty. Every country has the right to manage who comes in and out of its borders. People like AOC are operating off of a false premise, and it's deliberately designed to misinform the American people for her own political ends. They don't want fixed to the asylum loopholes. They're talking about decriminalizing illegal border crossing. When you put in these kind of socialist policies, it destroys a country. What is it about the Pledge of Allegiance that infuriates people so much? You know, liberty and justice for all. For all, not for some people, but for all. We can debate ideas. We can disagree on ideas all day long. Let's find the things that we actually agree upon and work on those.
We got to bring our country together. Let's focus on the things we agree on, and let's work on those. And let's not attack the core of the other person.
Congressman Crenshaw is now a formidable freshman congressman. He's going to be one to watch.
Thank you for serving our country.
Congressman Dan Crenshaw quickly fact-checked a New York Times writer who then apologized and deleted a tweet claiming Crenshaw didn't support the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund.
You're going to stand on the graves of 9/11 victims and claim that I am not a patriot, that I have not defended this country against the perpetrators of 9/11?
Hey, thank you all for being here. Thank you for coming to D.C. and talking about fighting the fight for American freedom and conservatism. We really appreciate it. Give yourselves a round of applause. I had a pretty cool presentation, which is not here. So, we're going to talk about something really important, which is the story of America. And I start with this idea that we should be fighting for the story of America because fundamentally, when we're looking at 2020 and the culture war that we're facing, it really is about a story about the culture of America, the story of America, and the story that we choose to tell about our great country. There's a lot of battlefronts on the culture war, a lot of micro battles that happen, but the most important one is the story of our country. Winning in 2020 is about telling the right one. And I think we have a pretty good story to tell. Our story is one of landing on the moon, creating the internet, inventing just about everything, and building a society that continues to be the #1 destination for every freedom-loving soul around the world. Our story is one of record low unemployment and wage growth for everyone, especially the lowest earners. And our story is one of record numbers of new life-saving drugs approved by the FDA and the highest median income ever recorded. It's no wonder that 90% of Americans surveyed believe that their personal life is good. They believe in a personal satisfaction, 90%. Choosing the right American story is more than just these metrics, though. It's about deciding what kind of culture we want to be. It's about answering the question that we actually all used to agree upon, Democrats and Republicans. The question of whether America is fundamentally good or bad. Is America a force for good in this world? Or, as the left would say it, is it a scourge founded on corruption, with the only solution being some kind of socialist revolution? This is the question of 2020. This is the question we have to answer. Now, the left story is actually quite clear on this. When they aren't pushing for the thinnest, weakest case for impeachment in history, they're pushing other conspiracies that our president is some kind of Russian agent. But when they're not doing that, they're pushing for some of the most radical, unserious policies that this country has ever seen. Federal control of elections and taxpayer money for campaign ads. Price controls on life-saving drugs that would kill innovation, and while they're at it, a government takeover of the entire healthcare industry. Third-grade science projects labeled as Green New Deals that would foolishly completely rely on wind and solar for our energy needs and put millions into poverty. Decriminalizing illegal immigration, and while they're at it, let's also give everybody health care too. Abortion on demand at any stage, confiscation of your guns, forcing taxpayers to foot the bill for all student debt. The list goes on and on and on. These are, of course, I could add to this forever. These are deeply unserious proposals. You got to question how we got here. How did we get to a point where Pete Buttigieg is considered a moderate candidate? How do we get to a point where Bernie Sanders is the thought leader of a major political party and on track to be the nominee for the Democrat Party, a party that used to be a party of workers? How do we get to this point? We got there because there's been a misunderstanding of why government exists. We got there because Democrats forgot what was written in the Declaration of Independence. If you're looking for a reason why governments exist, it's good to look at the Declaration of Independence, where it says that governments exist to protect your inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If you're on the left, you believe that that's not why government exists. You tend to believe that government exists to continue providing more and more services and false promises to the people. Why? To buy their votes, of course. And this isn't just radical socialists who believe this, who have this misunderstanding of the reason that government exists. The promise of more government services, the promise to make you happy, not let you pursue you happiness, but to make you happy, that promise is a cornerstone of progressive thought. Well-intentioned liberalism, it always leads to, we have it up. There we go. Well-intentioned liberalism always leads to socialism. It's inevitable. Because if you're a well-intentioned liberal and you always want to give people more stuff, well, what is the end goal? You need more power to give people more stuff. If you're going to promise all of these things, you need more power to implement those promises, and you have to centralize government as it stands. When you figure out that you can buy votes and buy voters off with their own tax dollars, you get very deeply unserious policies. They build upon each other. It becomes a game. Politicians make whatever promises they need to in order to buy off voters. Free healthcare, free college, free emotional support animals at said college just in case Ben Shapiro shows up. And we can blame politicians, we can blame Washington all we want for this, but we also have to look at ourselves as Americans. We have to look at what has happened to our culture. We have to recognize the fact that in a sense we're all to blame. We all fall for it. We all want to blame somebody else, and then we want to ask government to end our suffering, not give us the freedom to pursue our happiness, but to make us happy. The government will always abide. These politicians, supposedly well-meaning, will always do what you want them to do. They'll always make you feel good and righteous and taken care of. They'll just ask you to give them more power. And power really is what it's about. This is an important point if you're on the progressive left. You believe, fundamentally, as a Democrat, in democracy, but pure democracy. Republicans, we tend to want to conserve a republic, and those are two different things. The Electoral College is a great example. Packing the Supreme Court. Undermining the institutions that created our republic. Why? To gain more power. Because fundamentally, what does the leftists want? They want 51% of the population to tell the other 49% what to do. They want that pure democracy. And they want to centralize control so that all it takes is a coalition of 51% to control everybody else. So how do they get there? How do you get that 51% coalition? Well, the easiest path to that is to tell people that they're oppressed. Tell people that they're victims, and tell them that the only way they can be saved is by the well-intentioned progressive, by the socialist revolution. They use group identity politics as well. They shamelessly encourage it. The politics of grievance is a powerful one. And it's easier and more efficient to create coalitions if you tap into the most basic instincts of voters. You tell them they're oppressed because of their immutable characteristics or their socioeconomic status, and then you promise that group of people more power over another group. Fundamentally, that's what identity politics is. You build your coalition of the 51% by promising more power, more services, more stuff. This isn't compassion, it's mind control. And what exactly are they being promised? Well, fundamentally, it's utopia. And ironically, utopia is a combination of the Greek word for no place and the good place. So quite literally, it's the ideal place that simply doesn't exist. And to sell this idea, you have to pull the wool over people's eyes. You have to promise people that the only way to end their suffering is if you give the politician more power, if you give your freedoms away to the government. And this is what we see. To sell a utopia, you first have to sell the need for a revolution. In other words, you need to push change for the sake of change itself. Why did Nancy Pelosi rip up that speech? What was she ripping up? She was ripping up a speech that was filled with great American achievements. That was one of the most positive State of the Unions in history. But it made the left melt down. They don't want to hear it because it doesn't fit the narrative. They have to sell a crisis because crisis is the only path to revolution. They don't want good news because it doesn't fit the narrative, so they rip it up quite literally. But it gets worse than that. The story of victimhood ends up creating a deep disdain and condemnation of America itself. Because to sell the crisis narrative, you have to indict and condemn America at its most fundamental levels. So it starts with victimhood. And quotes like this are utterly baffling. The most successful people in the world believe they are discriminated against. It starts with victimhood, and then it continues and portrays our entire country as an oppressor. Tell a story where there's nothing redeemable about America at all. I know, right? It's a story where all must be torn down and rebuilt in some kind of progressive utopia. And that victimhood mentality, it quickly manifests through anti-American policy. Because after all, if America is an oppressor, shouldn't we punish it? It becomes advocacy for open borders and the removal of fundamental rights, like the right to bear arms, like the right to defend ourselves, like the right to free speech. And it gets worse. Eventually it becomes an attack on the foundation of our country and the symbols that actually bring us together. The flag, the national anthem, and the Pledge of Allegiance. It's about destroying the American project from within. It doesn't help when our major media companies publish things like this, on the 4th of July, no less. And the story they're telling is not ineffective either. They've told this progressive story of America so well that fewer and fewer Democrats are labeled as extremely proud or very proud of their country. Because what motivation do they have to preserve the American project if they fundamentally dislike it? So 2020 is about two very different choices. It's not just policies. Policies can be reversed. Laws can be changed. 2020 and the years to come are about a fight for the American spirit. It's a fight for our culture. When you look at these two columns, what do you see? I see order versus chaos. I see stability versus cultural decay. I see on the right a set of cultural principles that for thousands of years has been proven to create a sustainable and stable society, a society that thrives and is prosperous. A culture of individuals that values mental toughness, fortitude, and personal responsibility is a culture that lasts. A culture that believes morality is more than just a human opinion, but is in fact derived from a higher power, is a society that lasts. A culture that values itself, believes in itself, believes it is good and worth defending, is a culture that lasts. A culture that shows gratitude for the foundations and wisdom that created the miracle of modernity that we live in today is a culture that lasts. And a culture that believes in individual freedom and the duty of its citizens to live with moral truth in exchange for that freedom is a culture that lasts. And that's ultimately what you're here to fight for. And what does that mean to fight? I'm not so sure that's something we always get right. Too many politicians and activists, we seem to think sometimes that fighting means screaming the loudest alongside those who already agree with us. Owning the libs with the snarkiest tweet, or triggering a bunch of college kids with some kind of provocation. But this isn't fighting. It's fun, but it's not fighting. It's replacing sophisticated argument with an excess of attitude and misplaced passion. Yeah, it's fun, but it's not fighting. Fighting is just a means to an end. And the end has to be winning. And winning means persuading others to come to our side. And we win by telling the right story about America. Our story of America is a story about the best ideas that humankind ever had, that created the greatest country the world has ever known. When our founders, the students of history and political philosophy, they took the best ideas from Jerusalem, Athens, Rome, London, and wrote them down in Philadelphia in 1776, where we enshrine forever the true purpose of government, to protect your God-given rights.
Yes.
We created the most stable political document the world has ever known, the U.S. Constitution, which told us how to govern. So as it said, first comes rights, then comes government. We are a country founded on this very radical idea. It was this idea that created an American order that is undeniably good. And this is going to be the battle of our times. The battle between those who believe America is good and those who believe in the notion of socialist revolution, who believe we're inherently bad. It is the multicultural moral relativist versus the moral absolutist. There is right and wrong. There is an American culture, and it is good, period. The left has always labeled themselves as the counterculture. But the truth is that the pathology of the leftist thinking has gone mainstream. It's not the counterculture anymore. So guess what? We are. Conservatives are the new counterculture. We are the ones who must convince Americans that personal independence and responsibility is actually good. That the federal government is not the solution to every problem we face, and that the failure of socialism throughout history must be exposed as the evil that it is so that it never takes hold in our great country. We need to tell the story of empowerment and self-reliance, not dependency. We need to tell the story of freedom, not utopian collectivism. We need to tell the story that it is still okay to unapologetically love America, because that story is based in truth and gratitude and not fear-mongering for the sake of revolution and power. Stakes have never been higher than they are in 2020 because the story of America is at stake. And we have to win by telling the right American story. And our story is one that defeated the evils of slavery, communism, Nazism, and tyranny around the world. Our story is one of underwriting global prosperity and reducing poverty to levels that our ancestors never would have dreamed of. Our story is of renewed American standing in the world where our allies pay their fair share and terrorist regimes like Iran are put on notice. Our story is finally securing our southern border. Our story is one of energy and independence and record exports, while we still reduce carbon emissions more than the last 10 countries combined.
Our story is unparalleled. It's one of true exceptionalism. It is one where America is a hero to the world and always will be. So go out and tell them. That's how you as individuals, as men and women, you contribute to the American story. You contribute to that national discussion and conversation about how we win in 2020. You tell the right story. So go out and tell them. Thank you for having me.
Hello. Thank you for your precious time. And could you introduce yourself to Korean audience?
Sure. My name is Lawrence Peck, and I'm here at Cpac near Washington, D.C. The Korea, actually Cpac is what I'm representing, the Korea Conservative Political Action Conference, but this group is the American Cpac, American Conservative Political Action Conference, where thousands, over 10,000 American conservative leaders, activists gathering from all over the country, from international countries, to learn more about American politics, to learn about conservatism, and to just to share their experiences. And this is the first time Cpac, Korea Cpac, is here. As you may know, last October 3rd, Cpac, Korea Cpac, had their first Cpac event in Seoul. And that was a big success. We had about 1,200 people there, and we are planning to do more in the future.
And the next question is, how do you see your situation in Korea? As you know, there are so many communist people occupying in Korea. So how do you see your Korean situation as a American citizen?
Well, unfortunately, the American media doesn't cover very much the critical situation of the leftist and pro-communist in Korea. However, because I watch 신의한수 every night and I speak a little bit of Korean, I can understand completely in detail the political situation in Korea and how serious the situation is with all of the leftist groups trying to, for example, campaign for the April 15th election and trying to repress and persecute and harass the conservatives, even throw in jail some conservatives and censor them and restrict their freedom of speech. But hopefully, if there's conservative victory in April, then the parliament will change and they'll be able to put the brake on to stop some of Moon Jae-in's radical extreme policies. We're hoping for that.
So lastly, do you have any message to our 신의한수 subscribers?
Well, the last time I was interviewed with 신의한수, maybe a couple of years ago, I said, be strong, be courageous, 힘내세요. And this time I have a different message, which is fighting, 싸우자, fight, and in a peaceful way, demonstrate and vote in April, and show your feelings and share with your neighbors the importance of getting involved and defeating the plans of the far left. So let's all join together and be unified together as one voice to stop the radical plans of the Moon Jong-un.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I like your tie, by the way.
Yes, very nice. Thank you. 정북적결. Thank you.
박사님 인터뷰 한번 하셔야죠.
인터뷰.
앞으로 시간 많은데 뭐.
또 하셔야죠. 여러분 또 반가운 얼굴을 만났습니다. 오늘 김 박사님을 뵀는데요. 박사님은
반갑습니다.
네, 이번에 Cpac에 어떤 일로 오셨어요?
패널 디스커션이니까 토론에 참석하는 거고 토론의 주제는 중국의 그 헤게모니 확장과 그 위협에 대해서 어떻게 세계가 특히 동아시아가 공동 대처할 것이냐 하는 문제를 초점으로 하게 될 것입니다.
이번에 박사님께서 Cpac에 처음 참가하시는 거죠?
한국에서 Cpac 행사에는 참석한 적이 있는데 미국 행사에는 처음 와봤습니다.
네, 아무래도 우리나라에도 사실 Cpac과 같은 이런 뭐 보수주의자들의 네트워킹이라든지 그게 필요하잖아요. 그래서 Cpac이 이제 만들어졌는데
그렇습니다. 이제 시작이죠.
네, 근데 앞으로 좀 Cpac이 더 나아가야 될 길이라고 할까요? 아직까지는 좀
우리가 그 보수주의에 대한 이념을 보다 확고히 하고 또 정책적으로 어떤 정책이 당면한 시기에 문제가 되고 극복해야 되느냐 하는 것을 창출하기 위해서는 이런 대규모 모임도 있어야 되고 또 그 모임을 통해서 함께 견해도 나누고 또 함께 해야 될 미션도 공유하고 그러는 장이 많이 열렸으면 좋겠고 와보니까 역시 부럽네요.
네. 박사님 세션에 저희도 신의한수도 꼭 가서 또 취재하고 한국에 계시는 신의한수 구독자분들께
취재해주면 저는 영광이죠.
네, 감사합니다.
감사드려요.
박사님.
예,
감사합니다.
예, 고맙습니다.
네.
할 말이 뭐 있어야지.
간단하게. 여러분 또 현장에서 정말 또 반가운 분을 한 분 뵀는데요. 바로 고영주 이사장님을 뵀습니다. 이사장님 안녕하세요.
예, 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다.
네, 이번에 Cpac에는 어떤 일로 오셨는지요?
제가 Cpac의 공동의장인 거 모르셨죠?
네.
애니첸하고 저하고가 Cpac의 공동의장입니다.
네.
그래서 또 여기서 스피치를 좀 해야 된다고 그래가지고 왔습니다.
네. 그러면 이번에 이사장님께서는 어떤 주제로 스피치를 하시나요?
결국은 뭐 한국과 미국의 보수주의자들이 힘을 합쳐야 된다. 우리도 도움이 필요하고 뭐 그런 취지죠.
저도 여기 와 보니까 정말 부러운 게 미국인의 일반인들이 이 보수주의 가치를 가지고 있는 것에 대해서 굉장히 이제 자부심을 가지고 정말 뭐 트럼프 지지자라는 것도 뜨뜻하게 이렇게 밝히고 다니는데 이사장님께서 생각하시기에 우리 한국에 있는 보수주의자들이 앞으로 이런 보수 가치를 복원을 하고 나아가서는 대한민국을 또 다시 정상화시키기 위해서는 어떠한 노력이 필요하다고 보시는지.
미국도
네.
사회주의 도전이 대단했더라고요. 근데 그 우리나라하고 달리 미국의 보수주의자들은 이 보수주의를 지키기 위해서 굉장히 많은 애를 썼더라고요. 이거 뭐 ACU라든지 이런 엄청난 활동을 하고 있지 않습니까? 그래서 이쪽에서 정당을 후원해서 공화당 대통령이 되도록 만들고 그러니까 스스로 국민들이 이렇게 자유민주주의를 지키기 위해서 노력을 했어야 되는데 우리나라는 그런 노력을 하나도 못했지 않습니까? 그래서 이제라도 우리나라도 지금 자유민주 체제를 지킬 전사들을 길러내고 애국 인사들을 길러내야 되겠습니다.
네, 감사합니다. 이사장님. 저희가 또 이사장님께서 스피치 하실 때 신의한수가 가서 잘 촬영해서 또 한국에 계신 시청자분들께도 잘 전달하겠습니다.
아이고,
이사장님 감사합니다.
감사합니다. 반갑습니다.
네.
We love you, Nikki! All right, Matt. That's flat.
Can you hear me? Does this work? Is everything working? How does it look?
Fantastic!
Did anybody happen to see our theme, which is written right there against the wall? You see the theme?
Socialism sucks.
America versus socialism. Is that not a good timing to have this conversation? It's our great honor to have so many of the stars of conservatism here. Have you guys seen the agenda? Pretty action-packed, pretty star-studded, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If you guys don't do your job and we don't do our job, I'm afraid we're going to lose our country. And any time I got really depressed and turned on the TV and saw any news from the UN, it was all bad news except for one person, Nikki Haley. Would you all please give your appreciation to our former ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley.
How is everybody? Come on, guys. How is everybody? Are we ready for 2020? Did you see the debate last night?
Yeah, unfortunately.
If you did see the debate last night, you know we're ready for 2020. You know, there's never been a time where we've had a more important debate. Whoever would have thought that a self-avowed socialist will be the poster child for the Democratic Party? And you know what they've forgotten? They've forgotten what I learned at the United Nations, which was every socialist country that we ever came in contact with wanted to be in America. They wanted what we had. They wanted freedom of religion. They wanted freedom of speech. They wanted freedom. And what we know is capitalism is the best force to lift up people out of poverty in the history of the world. And you know how I know that? Because President Trump brought capitalism back. Unemployment is at an all-time low. Wages are higher than they've been. Food stamp rolls are lower. And what you are seeing is the economy is stronger, the stock market is doing better, and retirees are benefiting from it. That's capitalism. And the next time somebody tells you that they want socialism, and maybe just the kinder, gentler socialism, right? The ones that they say, like from Scandinavia. Well, let's talk about that. What about Sweden? Sweden went to socialism, and it was so bad, they went so far back on the other side that they're one of the freest economies that we see out there. You look at the Netherlands. I mean, I think that somebody asked him about Bernie Sanders, and they criticized Bernie Sanders and said, we don't want that. What you have to understand is the next time somebody talks about capitalism, don't go and put down socialism, defend capitalism. Because capitalism is freedom. And if you want freedom in our country, you will fight for capitalism every day of the week. We have the facts on our side. We've got the right president on our side. We're gonna see a great big train moving through to November 2020. And that's gonna be a train that defends capitalism, fights for America, and supports President Trump for 4 more years. It's great to be with all of you, but now I wanna see you in person. I'm gonna come down, we're gonna do pictures, we're gonna have a good time. Enjoy! Take care.
네, 지금 니키 헤일리 대사가 이동 중인데요. 인기가 너무 많아가지고.
Go backwards. Go backwards.
Oh my god. Okay. Oh my god. Okay. I feel like you need help. Sorry. Thank you.
I don't know how I interrupted.
네, 방금 전에 니키 헤일리 전 UN 대사죠. 스피치를 마치고 지금 공화당 지지자들하고 사인회를 해주고 또 같이 사진을 찍는데요. 인기가 너무 많아서 지금 사람들이 너무 많이 몰려서 인기를 실감할 수 있습니다.
Yeah, I don't know what the end game is here.
You guys sit back up and get in line. We will be cutting off photos.
Okay, well,
조심하세요.
for everyone else's sake, everyone get out. Go back. There's a line over there.
You're good. I can't. I think I move anywhere.
This is hard.
I'm sorry.
I'll trade you spots.
Like we could try.
Maybe.
Go
Clemson.
Yeah, he doesn't even get by there. Yeah, she is. Where exactly the line is?
Right here.
Okay, because I'm being like pushed.
Yeah.
Dial person. To normal person. There's no need to push. Right, no need to push.
Yeah, great to see you too.
Oh, okay. I know. Oh, no.
Sorry.
No.
You're king now.
No. This is the line. It's going this way. Oh, you guys are so close. This way. There you go. Oh, she got it. She got the stick.
인터뷰 짧게. 아니 그런 인터뷰 말고.
아니 그냥 간단하게 물어보고 알아 그냥. 너무 좋아합니다. 아니면 간단하게 물어보고 알아. 인터뷰 응해주십시오.
아니.
Great to see you.
He is in Alexandria right now. He got tired and went to get some Girl Scouts.
Next iPhone out. Great to see you. Thank you.
So much really appreciate it.
Ready to go? Very much. Good to see you. Hi. Can you just put your camera on?
Yeah.
Great to see you. Thank you. Hey, how are you?
I was holding, but yeah.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
You actually are.
have it all over your phone. Oh, Brandon, right? They're right here. Oh, I see why they have her here. They're sure you can hop. Yeah.
You guys have your phones on. Ready to go on camera mode? Thank you. Gotta back up.
Maybe a line would have been better. Carry on the side. Oh, yeah, sure.
Ambassador, good to see you. I'm from directly from Seoul. Please say hello to Korean people.
Oh, we're not able to. Oh, she wanted to sign.
Yeah.
Oh,
Say a sign.
Oh, we can't sign. I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
okay.
We'll do a picture.
Okay. So just say hi to Koreans.
Hi to the people of Korea. Thank you for standing
Thank you.
strong with the United
Thank
States.
you.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Pleasure to meet you, man. Big fan. Thank you. Good shot. Great work.
신의한수의 구독, 좋아요, 알림 방법입니다. 보실 영상을 눌러주세요. 아래의 구독 버튼을 눌러주세요. 그럼 종 모양이 나옵니다. 그 종 모양을 눌러주시면 신의한수의 새로운 영상들이 알림이 울립니다. 그리고 엄지척 좋아요 버튼을 눌러주세요. 여러분의 구독, 좋아요 버튼은 신의한수에 큰 힘이 됩니다. 댓글로 여러분의 많은 의견도 듣고 있습니다. 응원의 댓글도 부탁드립니다.